You know, it's widely accepted that the very best brisket, and when I say best brisket, I mean the ones that have that really dark bark on them and they have that deep, rich beef flavor and they're smoky and tender and juicy from point to flat and everywhere in between. It's widely accepted those briskets are smoked on offset smokers. But there are many other ways to smoke a brisket. But do those other ways even come close to producing the same smoky, tender, juicy brisket that an offset smoker does? That's what we're going to find out today. We're going to cook 3 briskets, one on the offset smoker for a comparator. Going to use post oak wood, one on the Weber Kettle with using also post oak wood and some charcoal, of course, and then a third one on another Weber Kettle. But I'm not going to tell you what we're going to do yet. Not going to tell you yet. We're going to wait till after we're done, until the end, so you won't have any preconceived notions or thoughts on its potential success or failure. But I will show you clips of everything we do to it after the taste test, regardless of what our judges' thoughts are. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not doing anything really crazy with this, but I will do some things differently than the regular standard way on the Weber Kettle. Now, we'll compare things like bark and tenderness and juiciness, but most of all, we will test how they taste compared to each other. Now, I have 2 judges that are going to be here, and they're from each end of the spectrum. One is a highly experienced barbecue pitmaster that makes his livelihood running his own food truck and is our first responder on top of that. I have a lot of respect for this guy. Now, the other is my cousin, who I also have a lot of respect for, but she's never smoked a piece of meat in her life, but she just loves brisket. She's tried brisket all over the country and knows what good brisket is supposed to taste like. Now, I'll put on the screen which brisket is which, so you'll have an idea of which one as they taste them. But let's see if we can make an offset quality brisket on the Weber Kettle. Let's go. So I've got here 3 prime grade briskets that are very similar sized I got from Sam's Wholesale. Now, I'm going to trim these up, keep them very similar sized. I'll then season them all with the exact same seasoning, which will be 1 part kosher salt, 2 parts 16 mesh black pepper, and a dusting of Lowry seasoning salt. Instead of showing you me trimming all 3 of these briskets and seasoning them all, and all the things I'm going to do to them prior to, I'll just show you some of the clips along the way in the process of getting them smoked.
So guys, I like to dry brine mine overnight, put it in the fridge. We're actually putting these on very early in the morning. I want to make sure I get them done really the night before so I can get an early morning start without having to worry about trying to season and trim briskets. 5:30, 6 in the morning, I already have it done. Plus that dry brine makes a really nice, tasty brisket. It gives good flavor in there. The salt penetrates and goes through and does its thing. So it's really, really helpful to have it done the night before. All right, guys, here are 3 briskets. It's early this morning. I've got a flashlight on my head so I can show this to you a little bit. This brisket here on the far left is going to go on to that kettle there. This is brisket 1, standard way, smoke a brisket on Weber Kettle. So I got some post oak down in there, burn 225 till we get to the next step. This brisket here in the middle, which is the biggest one, this one right here, is going to go on the offset smoker. All right, guys, here's the brisket on the offset smoker. We're going to run this at 225 for the first little bit, and then we'll buff it up accordingly. And this brisket here on the far right is going to go on the kettle with the unknown process. Like I said, I'll share with you as I go what I do with that. Okay, guys, now we'll check in on the offset smoker brisket. Real pleased with this, how it's looking. 4-hour mark, we will keep on trucking like we're doing. See you in a bit. Here's our last check-in for the night. This is the standard brisket, doing the way I always do them. You can see I added some more charcoal just till it gets done. Almost breaking that, but it's not quite doing it. It's very close, folks, but it's just not quite ready to wrap yet. I was hoping I could show you the wrapping of this. If it does get there in the next, say, 15, 20 minutes, I may could show you how I wrap it. And here's our last check-in with the offset smoker brisket. It doesn't feel nearly as tender. It's 160. It's just very tough. Not tough, but just there's a lot of resistance. Right there's some resistance. Come on there, actually. So we've got a little ways to go on this one too, but we will get it wrapped in butcher paper as well. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, guys, we're gonna make it in time, but we're gonna put a little bit of beef tallow down. Now guys, quick hack for you. I hear people all the time complaining about their brisket sticking to the paper. This is the best way to stop that from happening. Spray your paper with apple cider vinegar. The acidity in it prevents it from sticking too awful bad. 2 things this does. It makes the paper more supple and more pliable, and then also it prevents it from sticking, which is really cool, man. You don't want to have it stick, that's not fun. So all that hard work you did to get your bark, just to lose it, to a little bit of sticking. So that's enough right there. We'll grab our brisket, wrap it good and tight. So there's one turn, there. Pull it good and tight. And one more turn. So now we're back to fat side up, which is what I want. And we'll just tuck this underneath. And we'll tuck this underneath. All right, guys, there you go. Now we're gonna put this back on the smoker till it gets to temperature. We're gonna probe it. You know, that's one thing, guys, I'm telling you, the biggest issue people have with brisket not being done is having patience. You've got to wait it out. You can't say, gosh, it's 204, it's gotta be done. Gosh, it's 207, it's gotta be done. It is not done until it's probe tender. Till your probe can go through it like it's going through peanut butter or melted butter. I mean, it's gotta be super tender. All right, guys, back on the smoker.
All right, folks, we finally reached the end of our brisket test. Remember, our goal here is to find out if we can make a brisket, an offset quality brisket, using something other than an offset cooker. So we have an offset smoker, of course, behind us, and we also have 2 Weber Kettles behind us. And we have smoked all 3 briskets. These guys have no idea how I cooked each one of these. This is Cindy and Kenny. I gave you their credentials earlier on in the intro.
Hey, how's it going?
I'll show you on the screen each brisket, how it was done or what the name of it is. We call this one standard brisket, and we call this the offset, and we call that the unknown. So no one knows what I'm gonna bring out first, which one I'm gonna have where, but you guys will know at home as I bring them out. So I have these guys turn around when I bring the brisket out so they can't see how I processed it. So the guys will turn around now, and I'll go get the first brisket. There's the first one. Here's the second one. All right, one more to go, guys. There's our third one. All right, guys, you can turn around. There's our 3 briskets.
All right.
We are going to take the first one. I'll slice it up, give you some bites, and see what you think of it, okay?
All right. I look forward to it.
Brisket number 1. Let's see if we did okay here.
Oh, yeah, that's gorgeous.
Got a nice smoke ring. Looks real tender and juicy. Let's see how we did. Let's get a slice here of the flat. Looks pretty good, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Got a good bend test to it.
Really juicy.
It'll pull apart on its own. Very tender. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
yeah. There's a piece for Cindy. Piece for Kenny. Now we'll cut our point in half here. Some burn ends. There's the burn ends. There's our point. Give it a go, guys. See what you think of it. Take your flat first, yep.
It's very tender, very juicy. I'm not going to say what I'm tasting,
Okay.
but I know it is significantly different than what I make.
Okay.
In a good way.
Okay,
It's
okay.
a very pleasant taste.
Okay, cool. You taste the smoke? Good smoke flavor?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. What do you think, Cindy?
I just know it's good.
How's the burn in? Is it good?
It's very good.
Very good.
It's got a nice firm texture on the outside,
Okay.
so it's more solid, but it's a leaner cut of what we just had. It's absolutely delicious.
Cool.
So good.
And this is the point. That's the point.
I mean, you don't have to chew much.
Yeah, that's
Like
what's dissolve in your mouth.
It's
That's what
so
you,
tender.
That's the best.
you like that? The
I
point?
like that the best. That's
Good,
absolutely
good,
delicious.
good, good. All right, cool. Well, that's brisket number 1, guys. Again, you saw what it was and how it was made. So we'll go to the next one. Here's the second one. Did you guys see? Well, that was done. So we'll get a slice of this. Very good bend test. Pull test. Pulls right apart. There we go. Perfect. Piece to Kenny. This is number 2.
All right.
Piece to Cindy for number 2. Cut this point in half. We'll get our burn ends. There's your point. There's your point. Or, I mean, your burn ends, excuse me. Here's a piece of the point. There's the point. Probably some.
Okay.
All right. Point. And a piece of the point. There you go. Let's dig in.
All right.
Let me know what you think.
Very good.
That's good.
It's not quite as smoky as the first one.
Okay.
It's not quite as tender as the first one.
Okay.
It may be the particular part of the cut that I got,
Sure.
but it is very fall apart. I
Sure.
mean, it's got a really good texture to it.
Okay, great. So far, you like the first one better.
I like the first one better.
Okay, fair enough.
On that.
Oh, no, I got you. What are your thoughts? What do you think? Now, be honest. This is, I mean, I'm
It's
not-
good. It's good. It's amazing.
It doesn't have the same quality as the first one to
Yeah.
me.
okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Okay, that's great. Perfect. Love hearing that, actually. Would you cook it out of a restaurant or would you eat it in a restaurant?
No,
I'll
no,
eat every part.
I'll tell you, it's absolutely better than what you can get most anywhere here in a restaurant setting.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right.
It's very good. And again, that last bite
That
is
one's
probably my
good,
favorite
too.
bite.
The point? Yeah.
Yeah, the
Point's
point.
good. Yep.
I like
Good.
that burnt end. That was my favorite.
Okay, cool. Good deal. Cool, cool, cool. Here's the third one. This is how it looks on the inside. Again, you guys have no idea. The guys at home don't know what I did to it, but they know that there's something different about this one. Sort of. Shouldn't have said that. No, I told you guys too. Got this piece a little bit thick, but it's okay. There you go, guys.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It pulls apart very tenderly. Apart for Kenny for the third.
Excellent.
Nice and flat for Cindy. And we'll cut our point here. Put our burn ends here. Burn in for Kenny.
All its glory.
Burn in for Cindy. I've not had a bite yet, so. There's our point.
The
That is
juice
beautiful.
dripping.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
Point, guys. Let me hear it.
So tender.
It's very tender.
Mm.
All part. Very smooth. Burn in here.
Good?
I could eat my weight in that.
I'm doing my happy dance.
Yeah.
I'm here trying not to.
That's really cool to hear, actually.
Yeah.
Hear that, guys.
Wow.
Mm.
I like this one.
Which was
Number
first?
3 is first
Okay.
for me.
Okay.
And then number 1 is second.
Okay.
And number 2 is third.
Okay.
And they're all good.
Okay. That's great. That's good to
All
hear.
good.
I
I'm
got you.
gonna
You got
keep
you.
eating.
So I'm a little different than her.
Okay.
Based off what my desires are.
Okay.
The first brisket to me was the absolute best.
Okay.
Great flavor. I could tell the marbling of the meat had rendered throughout.
Yeah.
Very tender, delicious.
Great. Okay.
And they were all good, but that was my absolute favorite.
Cool.
Brisket 3 would be my second,
Okay.
based off the taste. A little bit less smoke than the first one. Not overbearing, not pungent. Really, really good on the palate, but still second.
Sure.
A second brisket that did would be number 3 for me.
Okay.
Not as much smoke, probably a little bit less rendered fat, I would
Yep,
think.
okay,
The way it went, but it was all delicious.
I got you. No, that's
And
cool.
still better quality than you can get most restaurants here locally anywhere.
Cool.
I'm looking for what I make at
There
work,
you
so
go.
I'm
Sure.
very, very particular.
Sure, I got you. No.
No, it's all delicious.
Well, good. Well, good. All right, so let me give you the lowdown of what we did here. So interesting to hear this. Remember, our goal was to find out if we could make a offset quality brisket on something other than an offset smoker. Well, we did it today. Okay. The first brisket, as you guys know at home, was off this kettle right here, and it was my standard way of doing it. I spritzed it a couple times within the first 4 hours. We started at 225, went to 250 after 4 hours, let it smoke for 250 until it finished. We then wrapped it in butcher paper with some tallow on it and let it finish. When it got to probe tender, put it in the warming cabinet. It's been there for about 12 to 14 hours now in the warming cabinet. So that's exactly what happened with brisket number 1, and it sounded like it was a good choice, right?
Absolutely.
Brisket number 2 was off the offset smoker.
Really?
So it had.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, no,
Being a wood fire guy, I'm
it's
surprised.
remember, this is probably about the 4th brisket I've made on this. So I'm still getting used to the smokers,
Right.
so it's all fair. I don't have a problem with that at all. And then the third brisket was also off the Weber Kettle over there. We called it the Unknown, and you guys are going to see clips of this after the video's over, and you'll see what I did with it. I used the foil boat with it, okay? So what that means is, instead of wrapping it in butcher paper at the end, I wrapped it in aluminum foil and around and let the top of it expose. That's why your bark was probably a little crunchy. Did you notice
Oh,
it was
yeah.
a little bit crunchier on that?
Mhm.
That's because the top of it was exposed the entire time. So it gets a little bit more heat and more dry, kind of dried out or crunchier bark on top. And the juices kind of confit from the bottom and kind of cook it in a confit manner.
Mhm.
I love those briskets as well, but it's a little bit different texture. And if you're not used to it, you know, it's something like, whoa, what's that? You know, that's kind of what happens with people sometimes. Well, guys, I certainly hope you enjoyed the briskets today.
Most
Good?
definitely.
Okay, there you go. I love it. Well, guys, we appreciate you watching our video today. Our goal was to see if we could create an offset quality brisket using something other than an offset smoker. And the results today showed that we could. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you got some value out of today's video. I definitely hope you hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. Until next time, guys, I'll meet you at the smoker.
Bon voyage.
Here is the unknown brisket. We'll do some things that, not my standard way of doing things and see if it makes a difference. Our goal is to get a good smoky flavor on this thing and see if we get a good, do that deep, rich beef flavor we want to offset smoke over all the kettle. So we'll see you in a bit, guys. All right, guys, we're 30 minutes in and I'm doing the first update here on the unknown brisket. Something we're gonna do different with this one is we're gonna spritz it every 30 minutes for the first at least 4 hours. Normally I spritz just the edges, don't spritz the fat cap, but I'm going to spritz the fat cap on this one even for the first 3 or 4 hours, so help draw that smoky. As you all know, moisture really pulls in smoke. So I'll do my best to actually just mist this very lightly, just water, not need apple cider vinegar or anything, just water, even the fat cap. And that'll help keep it moist and draw that smoke in. And we're doing this brisket at 200 degrees. I think I told you earlier, we're doing it at 200 initially. So we'll get the lid back on and keep cooking. Now we're doing a 4-hour check-in on the brisket that's unknown, on the Weber Kettle. And in all fairness, I just spritzed it. Look at the color on that thing, guys. I've been spritzing it every 30 minutes on the money, all the way around, on top and everything. What that'll do, guys, is it'll slow down the render of that fat on top by keeping it moist. It won't let it render very well. And I understand that, but I want to do this for about, I think, 2 more hours, and then we'll stop spritzing it altogether, wait for it to hit that 180 mark or whatever I can do, wherever it's at, when I can poke my finger into the fat and break that fat with my fingertip. That's when I know it's ready to wrap, and we'll see what happens there. But kind of deciding as we go here. But right now, we're going 2 more hours, spritzing it every 30 minutes. I do think I will turn it up to 225 now. I've had it at 200 for 4 hours. I'm gonna go to 225 now for probably the next 2 hours, and then go to 250 after that and see how we go from there. So I'm gonna jump it up to 25 now. All right, guys, we have reached the 6-hour mark on our briskets. Now this is the unknown brisket. We're gonna look at this real quick and take a look at it, and you'll see the color on this thing is fantastic, guys. I love this. It looks so good. We've been spritzing it every 30 minutes for the last 6 hours, which is not normal. That's a little more than usual, of course. My intent was to get as much smoke flavor on there with that moisture of spritzing with just water. In the first 4 hours we did 200, the last 2 did at 225, and now I've turned this temperature up to 265 in an effort to help render that fat and also to get some bark formation. Now, I'm using the Spider Grill's Venom. You see it's almost up to 265 now. This thing's fantastic, guys. If you're not familiar with the Spider Grill's Venom, go to the video in the upper right corner of your screen. There's a link there, and watch that video. It's got everything you want to know about it. And then also, in our kettles, we're using smoke and sizzles. Click the link in the description for those as well, and you get a 10% discount with that link. So by all means, guys, check it out. Here's our last check-in for the night on our unknown brisket. Now, the reason why it has to be the last check-in because it's going to turn dark soon. We're at 178, 179, 180 roughly. Here in the flat, it's 170. So it's close, guys. And it's pretty tender. Yeah, back there it's pretty good because it's the point. And so it's feeling really good. But it's just not quite there where I can't break the fat with my finger. It's close, so see that? I mean, it's almost there. Another maybe 30 minutes, I'll definitely show you what I do to it. We'll be back though. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this brisket. Feels good enough. You see it's really just about ready to break. And I'm gonna do the foil boat on it so that we get a good bark on it since I spritzed it so much early on. So we're gonna trickle this up. When you do this, guys, you want to crinkle the top edge of the foil out, not towards the brisket, out from the brisket. And if you've got an area that needs to be covered, just make sure you cover it up a little higher. And get these edges good and covered, especially the front edge of this flat right here. And there we go, guys. We're gonna put it back on, put our thermometers in. We're gonna let it ride from here. We're gonna let it rest just like this at 150, 155. Once it gets done, we'll put it into the warming cabinet. And that's it for the unknown brisket.